Okay. Okay, so today's January 7th, 2025. Uh, Interviewing Susan Walters. This is, I think, our fourth discussion.
Could be.
Just about your life, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, I think we went through a lot, most of what we wanted to with just the past and everything, at least for our childhood. So what did you want to add to that?
Today I would like to talk about what happens after I'm gone. I have to tell you, first of all, my children and my grandchildren, being your mom and grandma, have been the best things in my life ever. Each of you, for a whole variety of reasons, are my favorite. Each of you, as individual as you are, we've created a unit out of all our differences. I am so proud. I am so thankful that I've had you in my life. This is truly to say goodbye, and it is to say thank you. You all know that I'm sick. I'm a little sicker than I thought I was, and so my time is somewhat limited, but it has been wonderful, every minute of it. I cannot ever tell you how much you all mean to me. I can tell you, I remember so often the laughter we shared about just about anything. On any subject at any given day, there was always laughter. Of course, we had our differences once in a while, and that's to be expected. But we always managed to get beyond that and get back to the fact that we love each other completely, and we shared so much that was fun. I think about all those wild, crazy vacations we took when there were, I don't know that one house we had 20 people in the house, and it was absolute chaos, and it couldn't have been better. I think about your childhoods, all of the things that were simple things, but they meant so much. They meant so much to me, and I hope you treasure those memories as much as I do. I never really thought I would have children, so you came as a surprise to me, and it's a wonderful surprise. I was overwhelmed every time I held one of you when you were just born, just to see you. You're such miracles, such a joy, such a comfort. I think, obviously, I loved you from the moment you were conceived, each of you. I couldn't wait to meet you. I just found you fascinating, each of you. The way you thought about things, the way you processed when you were younger. It was really amazing to me, the way you processed information. And I probably said it before, but things like Emily wanting to know if the money was dry when I got it out of the ATM machine. And you all had such vivid imaginations, such wide imaginations, that you were all able to ask questions that were profound in their way and surprising in their way. And it humbled me every time I could answer you. The biggest, greatest thing I can say is thank you. Thank you to all of you, to the children and the grandchildren. You have been the lights in my life. I couldn't have imagined a life without you at this point. Before I had kids, I was okay. After I had kids, wow, the whole world changed. And everything opened up for me in ways that I never expected. The amount of love. You never run out of love, and it only grows. And the more you need to love, the more love you have. And the more love you get, the more love you can get back. I prize every moment that I've spent with any and all of you. Even in the chaotic days, even in the, oh my God, everybody, we got to get in the car and get to school. And there was always one kid lagging behind, and then we had to pick up that other kid. And we ran in circles for months, it seemed. Well, 9 probably. And it was chaotic and it was a little bit scary, but it was wonderful. I loved listening to the way you imagined things, to the way you processed things. I loved watching you play. I loved watching you learn. And I still love watching you learn because we're all still learning. You were so quick. Each of you, in your own way, found a path to what you needed to know. Emily and I shared the great distinction of being dyslexic, which complicated things for both of us. But because I understood dyslexia, it was easier for me to help her. My parents, when I was younger, dyslexia was hardly a thing. And if they recognized it at all, it was only in boys. So I always felt just a little bit slow. And I always felt just a little bit out of step because I couldn't spell things. Well, I still can't spell things because phonics doesn't work. You can't spell it the way it sounds. Circus is never S-I-R-K-U-S. It's not C-A-R-C-U-S. It makes no sense. So I struggled with all kinds of stuff like that, as I know a lot of people do. I look back on my childhood, and there were many wonderful things about it. We lived out in the country in this rather small house for the lot of us, and it had a little stream in the backyard. Well, we all thought we lived in paradise because we had a big backyard and we had a stream, and somebody had built a swing set, so we had a swing set. And it was a wonderful way to grow up. And we would hike in the woods, like we thought we were really hiking in these great woods. Well, of course, they were like 600 feet deep. And we had this stream, which we felt was the greatest thing in the world. And we would be wading in the water in March when it was freezing. We also had, as it turned out, a lot of poison ivy around. Mm-hmm. We were always treating someone for poison ivy. And my mother always worried that we were going to fall into the lake and that we would, that it would be horrible and all that stuff, but it was the best childhood ever. Then there was the time after we got a little older when my dad bought a boat. He bought a 27-foot something or other boat used, and it was on Lake Erie, so we got to go up to Lake Erie every weekend. And we would go on this little tiny boat, which was probably a death trap. We would putz around in the bay. We didn't really take any long trips. Then eventually he bought a bigger boat, and he bought the first boat because of a friend of his who happened to be also his doctor. And Doc's family had a boat, and he took my dad out. My dad thought, well, we've got to have a boat. So it was great fun. It was really wonderful. But it was also kind of scary on that first boat. So he bought another one, a bigger one. And that was when we started going back and forth to Canada in the boat. And I think the first several times we went with Doc and his family following his boat, because my dad didn't have a clue how to navigate. And my father was a brilliant man, but he couldn't get from one place to the other without assistance. He would have loved a GPS. So we would go on these trips, and we'd end up in these little tiny towns in Canada. And we once landed in one of them for some kind of a festival, and they spoke French, which we thought was so exotic and so cool. And my youngest sister at that point, Sherry, was quite young, probably only 7 or 8. And I think on some level I don't think she appreciated it at the time, but I think she grew to love it more as probably after we went through it. But there were stupid things like we would get on the front of the boat and sit out on the deck. Well, when he was driving, when he was piloting around, of course he was going slowly, but there was that one day when we were out on the deck. There were several of us out there, and we ran into a really bad storm, terrifying storm.
When you're on Lake Erie?
And Erie is famous for a weather change at the drop of a hat. And one of us was sitting on the hatch to get back into the boat. So we all almost drowned that day, but it worked out okay. We learned something too. My dad aged several years that day, and my mother, I don't think, ever got over the shock. She just didn't know what to do.
Eleanor would have handled that one.
I believe it came up in a conversation or two over the years too, especially when he wanted to buy a bigger boat. But be that as it may, it was a wonderful childhood. It was a wonderful way to spend big chunks of the summer. The only drawback to it was by the time we got back into school, everybody else that we went to school with, they'd been partying together or playing together, depending on the age. And we walked back into school like strangers again. We didn't know anything that was going on. So it took a little while to catch up. But overall, it was good. The thing that I remember most about school, and it's the thing that I struggled with for so long, which was the dyslexia. And I remember once, my mom put us in Catholic school, and I think in the first grade, Sister Paulette said to my mother, well, Susan is a very sweet girl, but she's not very bright. And I lived with that for a long time until I finally figured out that, hey, wait a minute. I do know stuff. I know a lot of stuff. Maybe I reverse my letters once in a while. Maybe I don't always process as fast as everybody else, but I am not stupid. I am perfectly able to understand things. I've spent a lot of time trying to learn new things because it's exciting to me to learn new things. And I am so glad that I was able to understand that one comment should never have been part of my life. And I should never have let it become part of my life. Unfortunately, with my mother, who was, God love her, a dear Catholic, a good Catholic, and if a nun said it was true, it was true. So there were struggles, but everybody struggles. Everyone in childhood has something that's difficult, something that they don't quite understand, something that takes a while to adjust to. And the challenge, the battle, becomes as important as the end. Because when you've battled your way through something, you can appreciate what you found at the end. You learn how to be independent. And I wish that for all of you, that you are independent when you grow up, and some of you already are, of course, but that you value the importance of having your family around you, that you value the treasure, that you treasure the time that you have with your family, regardless of the situation. It's regardless of anything, that they're always there for you and you are always there for them. And then I just think about those wacky vacations. I always go back to that. And just the crazy fun, all the silly things. And didn't we once take a big family picture? I thought we did, and I don't remember ever seeing it.
Where?
I think that it was at that little lake that
where the trip we just took?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have those pictures.
Did I get a copy?
it's all digital. I think we've shown you some of them, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, we never had them printed out.
Oh,
so
all right.
We can get some for you. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of pictures. They're great.
So, as you see, information doesn't always stay with me. And I've said over and over again, I remember when my mother was going through the same thing, and my sisters and I would always have the conversation about my mother said, because she would tell us different things. And I try really hard to stay focused and make sure I don't do that, but I know I screw it up.
Losing battle, yeah, these days.
But
we understand.
You all are so forgiving, and you've developed a sense of humor, and I have too, because there's nothing else to do. But you've enriched my life in ways that I could never tell you. And you can only begin to understand when you're a parent yourself.
Right.
And when you look at your child, and you hold your child, and it's their whole world is you for the first 3 or 4 years of their lives. And by you, I mean both parents. And it's such a huge responsibility, and it's terrifying. And it makes you feel like, oh my gosh, one wrong thing and the kid's going to grow up terrible and yikes and all this stuff, and it's not like that at all. It's the process of learning how to love and treasure every moment, how to find things that aren't funny, and try to take the serious things seriously, and then wisdom to know the difference. I've had a wonderful life. I can't think of anything that I have lacked. I have a few regrets like everyone else. There are certain things. I wouldn't have been quite so dumb when I was younger. I wouldn't have gotten married when I did. But I ended up where I am.
You mean the first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, oh, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't sound right. And from this, for so many years now, everything has just been a joy. And even living in this place where I am, because I really can't take care of myself as well as I would like to anymore. And I am so grateful for the people who take care of me and also give me the freedom to take care of myself when I can. I've come to depend on them. They've become, several of them at least, have become part of my family because they are just here. And I realize how lucky I am that I can do this. My parents were very careful with money, which means that my siblings and I have had enough to start whatever life it was we wanted. And that was such a gift. And I don't have as much, but I hope to pass on a little bit to my children for the very same reason, because there's nothing that beats love. There's nothing that can compare with that. But it's nice also to have a little bit of something just in case, or to just go out and have a great time, or whatever you choose to do with it. Repeat that vacation that we took not so long ago where we were all together, and wild chaos and absurd stuff and wonderful stuff.
And great stargazing.
Yes. Oh, yes. It was so beautiful. And if you choose to do that with your money and you take that vacation, please take me along with you, at least in spirit, or whatever you choose to do. The only thing I can say at this point is my life has been blessed in so many ways, ways that I never thought of, ways that I can't even count. And I am grateful for every moment. I am at peace. I am at peace with the fact that I'm not going to live that much longer. I regret, there's nothing I really regret. nothing that matters that I regret. And I am just so happy, and I'm so proud of my own children and of their children. You all have become really good human beings. And I don't mean that in the, oh yes, you obey the rules kind of thing. I mean that there is a goodness within you that you share with me, that you share with each other, that you share with your children. And it's a priceless, priceless gift. And I can't imagine not having it. And I can't even imagine what it would be like to live in a family where that wasn't true. And I'm grateful to all of you. I'm grateful to all of you for being in my life, for enriching my life, for showing me how to live a life. You've taught me more than I've taught you. You've given me more than I have given you. Well, that would be kind of a challenge, but there are more of you, so I got back more than I
there
gave.
we go, yeah. It's sheer numbers. Anything you want to share about or to the grandkids?
I hope when the time comes that you all remember me with love. I hope that you have the opportunity, and I know you will with your families, to live long, productive lives, that you learn the joy of giving instead of receiving, that you learn, and mostly you already know, the joy of reaching out to people. Always keep that, always hold on to that, always be open to meeting new people, to learning new things, to joy, finding the joy, always find the joy. Sometimes it's hard, but usually you can find it. And when you can't, you just have to work through what you're working through and then get back to being joyful. And life is full of problems. And life is full of stuff that you're not going to like. And I believe that it's perfectly all right to swear now and then because it really helps. In moderation, of course. And it's perfectly all right to say sometimes, you know, I'm just mad as hell, for whatever the reason. And then take a breath and get over it and move on. Nothing is perfect. Nothing is permanent, really. And you have to take every day as it comes, and you have to embrace whatever is in that day that is full of joy or laughter. And when it's a problem, you have to put all of your energy into trying to find out the answer, and you have to be patient with yourself, and you have to be patient with the people around you, because some problems don't have an easy solution. Or some things can seem so horrible, and as you work your way through them, you find out that it's really okay, that there is a way past this. I felt that way when my parents died, that it was the worst thing in the world, and at that moment in time, it was, but I also understood that they both had a lot of physical difficulties, and that they could be at peace. And when the time comes for you to think about me that way, I want you to know that I have lived the best life. I have lived a life that has been full of joy and laughter and a little bit of crazy, but what's the matter with that? And I want you always to remember that I love you, that I will always love you, even when I'm not here. If there is any kind of an afterlife, I believe that it is made up of still being able to love the people that you love and still being able to be aware of them. And I can't think of anything else to say. It has been my greatest pleasure, my greatest joy, the greatest gift to have been part of your lives. And I thank you for everything. And I love you. And not much else to say. So I guess in a way this is kind of my farewell speech. I will miss not seeing you all grow up as much as I would have liked, but I'm certainly overwhelmed by what you are now, and I know that you've got nothing but good ahead of you. So my darling children and grandchildren, always know that I will be with you in some form or another, that I will be sitting on your shoulder when you need me, and that there is nothing else in my life that I could have asked for.
All right. Thanks, Mom.
Well, thank you.
That was beautiful.
Well, it's hard to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And it's necessary. And I think this is an excellent thing, because you will all know when you listen to it that I really am at peace. That I really have celebrated so much in my life, and I have so much to be grateful for. And you, all of you, are a big part of that. So I'm glad to have the chance to tell you, and that you can hear it again and again, if you choose.